everybody. Robin here at Toadstool Tarot. Welcome, Marilyn's Tarot Take and Saskia Handley and everybody else that will be coming in a moment. I hope you're doing as well or better than I am. I'm in New York, and I think it's in the upper 80s. It's going to be, I think, 95 tomorrow, and that's just all too hot for me. I feel you have that feeling of prickly heat or whatever, where your skin sort of like itches or burns sometimes. It's just uncomfortability, And I didn't have my AC on, but I have my fans on. I have an indoor air conditioner because the window nearest my bed is a fire escape window, and you can't really have an air conditioner in that window. Now, I don't know about one like the indoor one with the exhaust hose that sort of creeps out one side of the window, but nobody said anything. Knock on wood. It's not as powerful as the window air conditioner, but the window one is would be my other window at the other end of the apartment, and I'm not sure it would be sufficient to cool down where I spend most of my time. I'm in a 8 by 23 foot studio, which I often refer to as the bus, because I've been here about 45 years, and there's so much clutter in here that there's barely an aisle for travel down the middle, like a bus overladen with passengers with bags and babies all around them. So yeah, it gets a little bit tricky sometimes to maneuver in here. And I don't think I'll have a full hour today, but I'll be lucky to get through what I have without any cooling mechanism. I do have a pocket fan in my travel bag, and I'm getting about ready to go somewhere. So that's packed. I would have to dig to find it. I probably should. Hello. Wait a minute. I scroll back. Hello, Timmy Raven. Hello, Red Wing. Hello, Donna Riedler. No spring anymore in Maryland. Goes from cold to super hot overnight. It's boiling here too. Corfu, Greece. Ooh, Greece. What is it? If you're in Greece and you're near like the bay or the shoreline, is it cooler? Probably than if you're inland more. I'm not sure about Corfu. Hello, Tarot Stash, Gerald. Oh, he's out and about. It's been hot in France also. Okay. I don't have a whole lot to discuss today. I'm trying to remember. Decks that inspired my own deck was what came up at the last minute, and it's not really enough to fill an hour with. So if you guys have more questions or information to share in the chat, please do. We can veer off course. But what I thought I would do, one of the reasons that I created my channel was in order to create my own deck and encourage other people to create theirs, and how easy it could be to do. And you can do it anywhere from creating a deck on index cards to you can buy blank tarot cards, to taking a deck of playing cards, or you probably need 2 decks because one deck isn't sufficient to include major arcana, but you can mark on those cards and work with that. Anyway, when I discovered Make Playing Cards and Printer Studio and Game Crafters, I realized there were a lot of print-on-demand options. And I had, at the time, a favorite tarot deck called RWS 2.0 by James Rickleff. And it's a variation, sort of modernized color, ombre kind of backgrounds, very dramatic coloring of Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork from the RWS, Rider-Waite Smith. And I went and I ordered it. And I was really surprised, shocked and surprised at the quality of the cardstock and the printing, because I thought, oh, on demand, this is going to look really homemade. But it didn't. It looked and felt like, real manufacturing. So I decided, try to do my own. And they did have some decks on there that were majors only. And I had been thinking about doing a deck for quite a while, but I'd say about a year and a half, and I kept procrastinating because 78 cards is quite an undertaking coming from nowhere. Now, I did have some background art experience, but it just seemed overwhelming to try and create 78 images. And I find with art projects that I need to be able to have the momentum to carry through. And I thought, gee, just launching right into 78, that is, I don't know if I could make it through or if I'd crap out part way. So then I thought, well, I know that they have majors only decks, and I know that they're, well used in France and other parts of Europe. And that's only 22 cards. So let me see if I can manage that. Now, I had been doing drawings on 5 by 8 inch blank index cards, mostly because I had drawn and painted in the past. But since I live in a studio that's 8 by 23 feet, there's not much room for storage. So I thought, all right, I will do works on smaller cards, and then I could just store them in an index card box. And that worked out pretty well for me. So, I mean, that's kind of what I deferred to when I decided to try the Major Arcana. And then I had to figure out what medium do I want to use. And I had recently discovered, I had done a lot of like line ink, like permanent pen ink line drawings, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I had discovered watercolor pencils, and I didn't quite know properly how to use them. But what I ended up doing was I drew with the watercolor pencil, crude little drawings, and then I would take a brush and water and sort of retrace the lines and kind of bleed out the watercolor, which had a really nice effect, I thought. It gave a little texture and a little emotional quality to the line. So, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I think it's good to find some medium that you're comfortable with. And so I sat down one Sunday morning and I just started to do these illustrations. And what I did to help me, usually if you draw, you have a model to work from or something. Well, I'm sitting right in front of my laptop. So I would Google, Tarot the Fool, and then I'd click images. And on my screen, I'd have maybe 20 images from different tarot decks of the Fool. I thought, oh, that's really good, because now I can see how other people approached drawing the Fool and what symbols are most commonly incorporated and which ones are just extraneous or not necessary or just a different take on things. So I kind of did a consensus, and I stripped it bare. I started with the most essential things and only went up to a certain point and then stopped. And I thought, no, I don't need all this extra stuff. This is the core of my Fool. And so it turned out I did anywhere from 1 to 6 drawings of each of the archetypes. and very quickly, just kind of almost scribbling. And I found some of them I hit on the first try. Some of them took 5 or 6 before I got one I liked. And it turned out I did the whole thing in about 4 hours. Now, near the end, I already was starting to peter out a little bit and get tired. And I had hit a couple cards near the end that I thought, oh, I don't like these. And I've done a number already and they don't seem to be getting better. I know I can do better, but I'm tiring out. And if I pause right now, I may not complete this task. So I pushed on through. Little voice in my head said, don't worry about if it's perfect. Just worry about whether it conveys what the archetype is meant to convey. And so that's what I did. So I did them all. But there were a couple of cards in the deck that I was inspired particularly by the quality of images in other decks. And that's what we're going to talk about. So first of all, I had always wanted to do a tarot deck that was inspired by fairy tale imagery from the late 1800s, that sort of pre-Raphaelite Art Nouveau kind of imagery. And I thought, well, that's not really my skill set when it comes to drawing. And so I thought, well, why go against the grain? Go with what you know or what you're comfortable with. So I did. And mine was a much more simplistic approach. And I realized after I was doing it that there were certain influences that came from elsewhere that my deck seemed to have. Now, the deck I'm talking about of mine is the Open Face Tarot. This is the back design of the card. And very simplistic face. There's not even any detail, no eyebrow, no ear, but it's got a nose, it's got a mouth, it's got an eye, it's got an open, inquisitive face. And I realized after looking at it that it reminded me a lot of my favorite children's book as a child, which was Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. I don't know if you've ever seen this book, but it's about a little boy with a magic purple crayon, and his crayon creates his reality. He draws things in it as he goes on a journey that help him, assist him, rescue him when he gets himself into trouble. And I thought, there's some similarities there between these images, a little bit. They're both bald, big-eyed characters, inquisitive characters. And I'm okay with that. And also there was at the time some dialogue going on about diversity in decks and representation of male or female, whether there are too many males, too many females, whatever, and trying to find a deck that could include everybody. Well, when I did this character, I thought, well, it's sort of neither man nor woman. It doesn't have hair. Could be a baby, could be a ghost, it could be an alien, but it's just sort of a generic being, And it did remind me of Harold a little bit. So anyway, I went with that and just sort of like Harold walking off a cliff, went my own way. Now, certain cards, when it came to working with them, like I said, I was inspired by other decks. And one of the decks that inspired me was, I don't know if you're familiar with this one. I'm trying to find who's the creator. is the Everyday Tarot. And I can't. Well, it's not on the outside of the box, but some of you might know this. It's a little box. Usually you got these like at, the cashier, the checkout counter. Pretty cheap, about $9.99 or something like that at the time. Hi, Chris, Anna, M.A. Okay. Anyway, this is a deck that I sort of was inspired by. It comes with a little book in a sleeve, pocket sleeve here. It's very simple. I don't like the plastic kind of box that it comes in attached to the book. It's kind of hard to get in and out of this kind of, what do you call it? Tuck box. It also has like a sort of a sponge in there to fill the extra space. The cardstock is matte, and I'm not crazy about it. I'm not fond of the coloring. I do like the size. It's sort of like bridge size or pocket size. The palette is limited to purple and goldish, but not gold. It's kind of more like a tan color. But some of the illustrations are very simplistic and inspiring. So when it came to the Lovers card, I was inspired by the Everyday Tarot Lovers. Now, if you look at the angel or angelic figure overhead, we don't have a full body. We've got a pair of wings and a face looking down. And somehow that appealed to me. So I don't know if you can tell, but when it came to making my card, I used that inspiration. It's like not a full body. It's sort of wings and a face. So that was the image that inspired that card that I used as kind of a model to create my version of the card. When it came to the Death card, where is it? Bear with me a second. When it came to the Death card, I don't remember if I used this deck particularly, but I had to distinguish the character of the archetype from every other character as different than a human skull. And so I exaggerated the skull on this one. Also, the banner or flag usually has a flower on it. And I thought, I'm going to put an X on mine because an X, if it's at a certain angle, is a cross. But an X also sort of negates things. So it's kind of like, if you don't see a skull in this card, you just see somebody riding a horse, but you see people falling in front of the horse and you see a banner with an X on it. It's almost like negating their lives or Xing out their existence, so that's kind of what I did there, what the thinking behind that was. A big influence for me was in the Chariot card, and that was from the Everyday Witch deck. The Everyday Witch deck had several cards in it that were quite a revelation for me, but one of them was the Chariot. So if you've seen this card in the Chariot, it's not so important that this modern witch is on a motorcycle, but I love this way, that way signs on the card, which for me were kind of like, that's a little different from the Chariot. Like sometimes we read into it that the sphinxes or the horses are pulling different directions, but you can't really convey that with a motorcycle where you're behind the steering. But direction is part of it. And so I really I did my own kind of thing there with arrows going both ways on a path that divides. And I have the wheel sort of wonky, one going up, one going down, the Chariot almost like falling backwards and the figure in it leaning forward. So there's kind of this question of direction in the Chariot. It's like, yes, you need to move forward, but in doing so, which direction are you going to take going forward? Which was for me what the Chariot is all about. Wheel of Fortune. I don't think I use this specifically, but I focus the idea on just a wheel, like a game type wheel going round and round, you know. And for me, I put the height of existence in the tarot, the king on the top, and then the dead person or the fallen one at the bottom. And then the wheel has no specifics on it. It just goes round and round, and you never know where you're going to land. You might be king, you might forfeit your life. But it is sort of like a game of chance, like the card in the Everyday Witch Tarot. Just for the heck of it. Now, these did not inspire my deck, but I did love these cards. These changed my idea about the meaning of the cards. The Tower. I had always hated and feared the Tower. A lot of people fear the Death card or the Devil. For me, it was the Tower, because the Death card was transition, transformation. The Devil was temptation. Can deal with both of those things, but the Tower always made me feel victimized. So when it came to the Tower, I wanted something that gave me more power or authority. And I loved the Tower in the Everyday Witch, because you can see she's wielding the wand that supposedly made this tower come down. So she's not a victim. She's in command of the situation. And sometimes it's not you being victim to unexpected things happening. Sometimes it's things need to happen, like they're stagnating and you need to give them a good shake up to move forward. And so I like the empowerment aspect of this Tower card. So that's what worked for me. That changed my whole concept about the Tower. The other one is the Death card in this deck. And I love the Death card, how we have, that old saying, one door open, when one door closes, another door opens. And also there's a barrier towards moving forwards through these foggy realms or unclear areas. And you need to sort of like cut the cord of what's holding you back in order to move forward. It's like the face is unclear, the way is unclear, except the idea that you're being held back and you need to cut that cord in order to transform and move forward. So that's what I love about that. That made me kind of think more about the idea of the Death card. the moon card, it's wild. This deck has about 4 cards in it that like really impacted me, and I don't use it very much anymore, but it served its purpose, if only to reconfigure my thinking. This was the moon card, and we've got, you know, a stereotypical witch on a broom in front of the full moon. But the thing I liked about this one, we have a small domestic cat seeing its reflection in a pond as a panther. And that's really interesting. Like usually we have a domestic dog on one side of the path and a wild dog on the other. But this is really interesting to sort of reflect on this concept of both sides of each of us, and sort of trying to decide, you know, how you're following your path and which one you tend to be leaning more into, your thinking mind or your instincts and impulses, the natural impulses. So yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's mostly what I wanted to talk about. Oh, there's a couple other things. Okay. So the Emperor, for the Emperor, I chose a card from the Tarot de Marseille. No, the Tarot de Marseille, the most significant thing is that he's sitting cross-legged like the number 4, and it is archetype number 4 in the deck. So I kind of wanted to stick with that, and that's why I created my Emperor that way. The Empress, I can't recall why I depicted the Empress the way I did, except that a lot of people think of her as a pregnant mother type figure. So I didn't put, you know, a literal looking baby in her belly, but I did put sort of a fetus-like figure in there. For me, the Empress is almost more about the cushion that she's sitting back against than anything else. There's a kind of a comfort and a nurturing quality about the Empress for me, that I guess is sort of like comforting and protecting. Both the pregnant mother is that way, and also the throne, the cushiony throne, is that feeling for me. So that's kind of why I did that. But I didn't use specifically any other deck to lead me in that direction, other than maybe the Rider-Waite-Smith, because she's in a very cushiony kind of chair in a garden. Oh, the Hanged Man. Can I find him? Here we go. Now, the Hanged Man is pretty much similar to the Emperor. In some of the Marseille decks, you get this crossed leg thing, which I did. I'm not quite sure whether dyslexia overtook me or why I mirrored the image and did it the other direction. But I still sort of like that idea of the number 4. Now, I guess my number 4 is kind of backwards, or yeah, but it's got that same kind of idea as here, the crossed leg, or hanging by one leg with the other kind of in back or in front of it. Where are we? Oh, we're only at half an hour. That pretty much covers all I had together for today. So if you have questions or comments, we can talk about them. Let's see what the comments have to say. Everybody's saying hello. Love, peace, hugs, and positivity sent your way. Really cool. Love that card. Now I don't know which cards they're talking about. The tomato slice of chance. Love it. I guess you're talking about the wheel card. Yeah. Yeah. It is a little like a segmented tomato. Nothing so strange. Hello. The moon radiates inward. The star radiates outward for me. I had a lot of trouble with the star, the meaning of the star initially. I still have some trouble because some people use the keywords hope or guidance. And I guess that's what I do. And I thought, well, where does that come from? And in terms of the star, when I think about it, it's like seafaring folk back through history or the Middle Ages, medieval times, whenever, tarot came into being, people across the sea, they use the stars in the sky to map out or guide them. So in order to find their way, they looked up for help or inspiration or guidance. So that's kind of how I came to use the star. Now, it's tricky, the business about the figure pouring water from a pitcher both into the land and the water, which still doesn't quite make sense to me. I still haven't quite figured out a meaning for that particular image, and the fact that she's naked. I suppose the naked aspect could be a vulnerability or purity, and there's sort of a certain purity, I guess, with water. Sometimes it looks to me like, well, you can see where dry land might need watering or nurturing, but why pour water back into water? That seems sort of like pointless or wasteful. So I'm not really clear on if any of you have concepts or ideas about that. The two water pitchers in the star card, let me know, because that would be helpful. I'm going to see if I can find a copy to show you so we can talk about it. So, well, we get something similar with the Temperance card, but there it's very obviously about balance. Now, not sure again about the feet, one on the land and one in the water, but maybe that's sort of an even or equitable approach to things. I don't know. I don't know what that aspect of the card is all about. Here we go, the star. So yeah, I mean, is she wasting water? Is she investing somehow in growth or something? Interesting here that the water that she pours in ripple outward that affect that. Her foot doesn't seem to be going into the water so much as standing on it, like as if she were able to walk on water. Yeah, I don't quite know what to make of that. If any of you have any ideas. Timmy, for me, the star illustrates outward humility, knowing who you are in the outside world. The moon illustrates inward humility, knowing what you are. Oh, I have an extra card in my deck too, and that was a fluke. When I came to use the template at Make Playing Cards, I miscounted, and you might say, well, there's no mistakes. There's no, the fact that you did that was intentional, or you got a subconscious message somewhere to calculate it to add an extra card or miscount. And I thought, I'm not just going to do an empty card. I'll put something on it. So I took the image that's on the back of the card, put it also on the front of the card. So I have a two-sided card. And initially I did have the archetypes labeled on my cards, and you can still get them that way. But I also have versions with no labels. And the reason I did that was I wanted people to be able to use this as an oracle deck. If they had nothing to do, no knowledge of tarot, that they could just read the image as is. But when I had the labeled version, I had a question mark on this card as the label. And the question mark was because it kind of echoed or mirrored the shape of the profile as a question mark. But the more I got to think about it, like, well, what does the question mark mean? Does it mean like, I don't know, try again, or if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you, or figure it out, or who knows? Now, I've come to look at this card as the Who Are You card. So I have an extra archetype in my deck, which when I get this card and I'm looking at all the other archetypes and they're telling me, giving me different advice, when I get this card, it says, who are you where you are at right now? Like right in this moment, what is your context in relation to these suggestions, these places to go, these things to do? And I like that. It's like, you already can see yourself in each archetype, but this one is like, it's a little bit like the hangman. It's sort of like pause and reflect, or suspend action until you've figured something out. But it's like, well, in order to answer your question, where are you coming from? Or where do you think you are right now? And that really has been a helpful card. Maybe it's something somebody at some point will want to incorporate into the archetypes. And it just sort of like came from my subconscious. So I actually like that card. And sometimes it's a breather or a relief when I get it. It's like sometimes the major arcana are too kind of set in what they have to say. And that one's like, hold on a minute. Let's step back, look at yourself. Where are you? Who are you? What are you? And go from there. Hi, Zach, Tiger's Abyss. In a practical sense, she could be rinsing out the jugs. Yeah. I want to say the water is the spiritual soul and the earth is the material body, and pouring out the waters onto them means... Timmy, it's a card that it's a mirror. Yeah. My who are you card. Oh, so anyway, what I was saying about the labels also is if you put the archetype labels on there, sometimes you lean too heavily on what those mean for you. And sometimes an image will take you in a different direction from that. I think that's why I have trouble with oracle decks, because a lot of times oracle decks will have a key word on them or a sentence or something that goes a completely different than your mind might go when looking at the image. So I tend to prefer oracle decks that have, I don't even know if there are any, there might be one or two that don't have any words on them at all. Or if they have a word, like one key word, not like a sentence. I'm not big on like affirmation decks. It's like, I can pat my own self on my back without a card telling me you done good, And then also a lot of them that are like sort of like fortune cookie one-liners. I like fortune cookies, but I might as well have, a bag full of fortunes from fortune cookies, or a book of wise and witty sayings. Why should it be on cards? I don't know. I have my own issues with oracle decks. I like the idea of them, but I don't think they often succeed. And it's tricky to find cards where images can lead you in a number of different ways, which is one of the things I do like about tarot, is that there's a system, but also the different images will lean into what the archetype keyword or meaning is, but also can be read various ways. So, yeah, I don't know. I am at a bit of a loss this week. I'm waiting on a deck to come to me that I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about. I had ordered and shown you a couple weeks ago the Visconti Sforza, the golden one. And I didn't realize when I bought it that it was going to have, where is it? That it was going to have multiple languages down one side. I can't find it now. It's somewhere among my clutter. But anyway, it has beautiful gold foiling on it, but the images also have kind of yellow ochre and kind of colors that don't do much for me. And then I saw online, just in passing, Lily Stone. Do you guys know Lily Stone? I think that's her name. She did a Tarot de Marseille that I considered but never got. And then she also did a Visconti deck, and it's gorgeous. And I went ahead and I ordered it. Now, I don't think I realized when I ordered it until later that the cards are enormous. So I might have trouble with the size of the cards, but the backgrounds on them are dark, like nighttime images. And the figures and the cards are just beautifully rendered, artistically rendered, and very clean. So I'm like really curious to share that with you when it comes. It came out about 3 or 4 years ago, I think. Donna has the Stone Visconti. They are large cards, same as the original Visconti. Oh, okay. I don't think I realized the original Visconti was large. I think I did see a walkthrough somewhere, a deluxe version or something that was very large and beautiful. But there are a few different versions out there, and I think I got the Lo Scarabeo one. It wasn't really what I expected or wanted. I did kind of want the gold embellishments, but it just kind of, it doesn't deliver in the way I had hoped. And I'm not really that big on Pip decks or Marseille decks anyway. I tend to lean more heavily into the majors, and the minors really don't say as much to me. It's sort of like clutching at straws to be able to get meaning out of them. My mind tends to default to the Rider-Waite-Smith imagery when I read with a Marseille. And some might say, oh, that's cheating, or that's not the way you're supposed to read them. But it works for me. I mean, I do the same thing when I read with playing cards. I will remember what I've committed to memory from the Rider-Waite-Smith and just leave out. In that case, I leave out the majors, and I leave out the I combine the page and the knight into the jack. That's how I work with those. So I think the shiny golden Visconti is one of the few smaller versions of the Visconti. You know. Well, folks, it's 1:15, and I'm planning to spend the weekend elsewhere. So I'm going to let you go unless you have questions or comments, or you want me to do a reading or something. I could do that. It's actually starting to get a little warm in here too without my fans. And many of you will want to head on over to the Hermit's Cave, which follows directly after us. I like to think of us as a lead-in to Simon's show. And hopefully my Visconti deck comes by next Saturday so I can share that with you. Or if you have ideas of some topic you'd like me to cover, that would be welcomed. Slip it in the comments. You don't do it in the live chat, slip it in the comments afterwards. And I will see you all next time. Try to stay cool if it's hot in your area. Get to the shore, get to a pool, enjoy yourselves. I'm looking to go to an air-conditioned cafe and meet a friend. I'm teaching how to read tarot, and so we'll either have frozen yogurt or a slushie or an iced coffee, iced latte, and we'll be in a cool spot in a garden, and we will look at cards, and she'll do some spreads, and I'll see how much she's learned, and we will share thoughts. I love doing shared readings where you each can put in your own thoughts or interpretations and compare them. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm also looking towards having some popsicles later on. I haven't had a popsicle in ages. So between soft serve and popsicles, that's my big plans for the day. I'm going to let you go and enjoy your summer. I'm not sure. Have we hit the first day of summer yet? Probably. I think we're into it. If the weather's any gauge, the thermometer is supposed to be like mid-90s all week coming up, which I'm not looking forward to. But anyway, I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me today, guys. Bye.